It really was an incredible weekend. 12-3 with our profitable.tv picks. That's 80% winners cashing tickets out the ass. How about Sunday? 7-1. 88% of the tickets cashed. 7 out of the 8 bets that we placed cashed. The max profit plays 3-0. My elite plays 2-0. I've hit 14 of the last 20 elite plays. I mean, it really is incredible. Saturday we went 5-2. And then a 7-1 Sunday? You got to be fucking kidding me. We're killing it. If you're not on profitable.tv, then you're just missing out on all of this money we're making everybody. Everybody's doing it. They just won't admit it. All right, let's look at everything that went down on Sunday. Both home teams won the game sevens to advance. The Pistons, the 1 seed, move on. They blew out Orlando 116-94. Cunningham had 32 and 12 dimes. Harris had 30, and they won it. They won a playoff series for the first time in 18 years. Cunningham averaged 32.4 for Detroit, which last won a postseason series by beating Orlando in the second round in 08. So they're going to play the Cavs. They won. They became the 15th team in NBA history to overcome a 3-1 deficit, and the second in the last 2 nights. The Sixers just did it to the Celtics. They trailed by 24 points in Game 6 in Orlando, and then they held the Magic to 11 in the third, 8 in the fourth to win that game going away. Cunningham and Harris became the first Pistons teammates to score 30 each in a playoff game since Lanier and Porter against Golden State on April 17th of 77. Bob Lanier and Howard Porter is who I'm talking about. They got it done. Pistons move on. They're playing the Cavs. We lost that game. That's the only ticket we didn't cash on Sunday. We took the Raptors in 8.5, and they lost 114-102. Allen had 22. Spida had 22. They'll play at Detroit in Game 1 on Tuesday night in the second round. Scotty Barnes had 24. R.J. Barrett 23 for the Raptors, who were in the playoffs for the first time since 22. Allen had 14 and 10, including 5 on the offensive end, as Cleveland went on a 49-21 run during a 15-minute span over the second and third quarters that iced it. That was that. How about the Cavs? A 25-8 rebounding advantage during that run and converted 10 offensive boards into 14 points. Toronto led most of the first half and had a 10-point lead like midway through the second before they got lit up. And that's the end of it. So let's move to golf. Cameron Forever Young held off Scotty Scheffler, beat him by 6 strokes, and won $3.6 million at the Cadillac Championship in Doral, Florida, down in Miami. Baseball, Minnesota 4-3 over Toronto. Twins hold on. Andrew Morris pitched 3 2/3 scoreless innings of relief to close the door for the Twins. Houston in 10 over Boston, 3-1. Cam Smith gets the go-ahead 2-run single in the 10th. Yankees pound the Orioles again, 11-3. Dominguez hits a 2-run homer and drives in 3 runs for the Bombers. Washington 3-2 over Milwaukee. Nasim Nunez drives in 2 for the Nats to get it done in D.C. Pirates blank the Reds 1-0. Cruz, the go-ahead RBI hit in the 8th for the Bucks. They swept that series. Philly 7-2 over Miami. Stott's 3-run homer, and Luzardo pitched well in the Phillies win against the Fish in Miami. How about this ticket we cashed? Tampa's down in the 8th, 1-0. They tied in the bottom of the 8th. They win it in the 10th, 2-1. Boom, we cashed that ticket. Aranda's walk-off single, the difference for the Rays. We had the Dodgers cards under 7.5. It landed at 5. Dodgers win it 4-1 to end a skid. Wrobleski goes 6 scoreless. That helped us. We cashed the under. Boom. And then the Cubs, 8-4 over Arizona. I mean, it's unbelievable. 5 straight wins. Bush hit a 3-run triple and a sac fly. They just keep winning. They won 11 straight at home for the first time since they won 14 in a row at Wrigley in '08. Didn't they win the World Series that year? Atlanta 11-6 over Colorado. The Prophet hit the Strider over 5.5 strikeouts. Boom, he had 6. And the Braves get it done. Heim homer double and drove in 5 runs for the Braves. A's 7-1 over Cleveland. Thomas, Galoff, and Soderstrom all with homers for the A's in Sacktown. Mets beat the Angels 5-1 at the Big A. Vientos hits 2 home runs for New York. They're still 12-22. They blow. Kansas City 4-1 over Seattle. Pasquantino scored the go-ahead run in a 3-run 4th inning for the Royals in Seattle. San Diego stopped the White Sox winning streak at 5 games, 4-3 Padres. Bogarts hits the go-ahead single for the Friars. And Detroit on Sunday Night Baseball all over Texas, 7-1. Torkelson a home run. McGonigal's RBI singles, he had 2 of them in the Tigers win at Comerica. How about this one? We had the under in the Montreal Tampa game in the Game 7 at Tampa. Lightning and Canadians put on a show. Canadians win it 2-1. We had the under 5 at +110. Boom, that hit. How about this? Montreal wins the game 2-1. Thrilling first round series. They move on. Alex Newhook broke a tie with 8:53 left in the game. They'll face the Sabres in the second round after finishing off their first series victory since losing the Stanley Cup Final to Tampa Bay in 2021. Game 1 is Wednesday night in Shavalop, Buffalo. And the other ticket we cashed to go 4-1 on Sunday with our picks, 3-0 with the Prophet, so 7-1. Cashing tickets like freaks was Colorado. We had the over 6.5, and there were 9 goals by the Avs alone. 15 goals in the game. Unbelievable, these two teams. Cale Makar scored twice in the third period, coming back from an injury, and the Avs overcome, blowing a 3-goal lead. They were down 5-4, but they still won by 3 goals in game 1 of their second round series. So we cashed that ticket. Boom. I mean, Rays, the Dodgers under, the under in the Canadians game, and then the over in the Avs game. It was beautiful. We just absolutely went off. All right, here's Monday. Game 1, Sixers and Knicks are the world's most famous. Knicks are laying 7.5, 212.5, 8 o'clock tonight on NBC. 9:30. Minnesota and San Antonio, game 1. Spurs at home laying 13.5, 217.5 is the total. Baseball, 5:40 East, Mets and Colorado at Coors. Oscar Myers and Sagano. Boston at Detroit. Toll against Skubal. Philly at Miami. Nola, and I got your junk right here. Toronto at Tampa. Brad Lauer against Martinez. Pedro Martinez. Baltimore at the Yankees. Boz and Schlittler beer. Cincinnati at the Cubs. Petty and Cabrera. Cleveland at Kansas City. Bybee and Waka Waka Waka. Milwaukee and St. Louis. Craig Patrick against Leahy. Dodgers at Astros. Yamamoto and Okert. White Sox at Angels. Martin against Soriano. Atlanta at Seattle. Richie Cunningham against Gilbert Grape. And San Diego at San Francisco. Vasquez and McDonald. Hockey. Game 2 in Raleigh. Flyers and Canes. Canes minus 265. 5.5 is the total. 7 o'clock on ESPN. 9:30, the nightcap on ESPN. Anaheim and Vegas, game 1 in the West, second round. Vegas minus $1.66. 6.5 the total. It's time for Fast Forward, Pharrell in Your Face Show, where we're doing all the stories that matter and shit that doesn't. How about this? on this Swiss Air flight. You can't even make this stuff up. This guy creeped out on this chick. I mean, this is ugly. So a French guy, you can't even believe this, sat next to a chick he didn't know on a Miami-bound flight. And so this guy's 48 years old. He's facing a count of sexual contact, abusive sexual contact, for what he did to this chick on this Swiss Air flight. So there's a 29-year-old chick sitting next to him. They were in the cabin, first class, on their way to Miami from Zurich. The woman dozed off during the international flight. 2 passengers spotted the French guy touching the woman as she slept. One of them filmed it all, becoming very concerned. Of course he was, because they saw him moving his hand in a submarine motion as he was trying to get his hand under her clothing and between her legs. He was trying to work her coochie. Had his hand on her crotch over her jeans, scooping and rubbing on her coochie. He was unable to tell the flight attendant whether he knew the woman and was moved to coach. When she woke up, the flight attendant told her what happened. She started shaking and crying. He went to his seat to fetch his belongings. The creep allegedly left a note saying, quote, "You look beautiful when you're sleeping," end quote. Then he claimed to investigators nothing happened on the flight. But then they showed the video. The creep admitted that he touched her, and he didn't think it was a big deal. He touched whatever he could reach from across the armrest. He advised his initial intention was to get her phone number and give her his. He then provided the note from his pocket that was written on the business card that read, "You look cute when you sleep." Holy shit. Agents arrested him. He has to appear in federal court today. You're a fucking bitch. Honestly, can you imagine if somebody did that to your chick or your wife? I'd fucking beat the shit out of them. It'd be that simple. There'd be hands. The Cubs are on fire. They lead the NL Central by a couple of games. 11 straight wins at Wrigley. A 5-game winning streak and their 3rd consecutive sweep of a series at Wrigley. Now they start up on the Reds, who just got swept by the Pirates. How about this? Since shots were tracked in the NHL, the fewest shots on goal for a team in a playoff win entering the game last night was 10. Montreal won that game with 9 paltry shots on goal in a Game 7. A new record has been set, and they won the fucking game. You got to be kidding me. How about the Sunshine State? Stanley Cup final run ends after 6 years for the first time since 2019. The Lightning or Panthers will not be in the Stanley Cup final. They were both in the Stanley Cup final every year since 2019. You can't even believe it, but it is true. And then how about the Avs? With a 3-0 lead, then they trailed 5-4. They win 9-6. First time in NHL playoff history, a team has led by 3 goals, then fell behind and won by 3 or more goals. In a stunning story this morning, longtime legendary Yankee broadcaster John Sterling died at 87, had a brilliant career, particularly in New York with the Pinstripers. Jalen Brunson against the Sixers. How about this? In the 24 playoffs, Game 1, 22 points. Game 2, 24. Game 3, 39. Game 4, 47. Game 5, 40. And Game 6, 41 points. Game 1 is tonight. The Yankees have optioned Anthony Volpe to AAA after 3 seasons as their starting shortstop. He's back from injury, and they sent him down. Welcome back. Cade Cunningham becomes the second youngest player in NBA history to record 30-plus points, 10-plus assists in a Game 7, trailing only Luka Doncic. I mean, this guy just went off in Game 6 and 7. Aaron Judge and Ben Rice have combined for 25 home runs. That's as many as the whole Mets team and more than the Marlins, who have 24, the Brewers and Red Sox 22, and the Giants 19. Rice and Judge, Rice-A-Roni and All Rise getting involved with the big stick. The Knicks are favorites to win the East, or plus 135 to make the finals, according to FanDuel Sportsbook. And Saturday was the most watched Kentucky Derby of all time. $19.6 million for the telecast, $24.4 million for the actual race. It was higher rated than basically every sporting event besides the NFL and college football title game. It's crazy. The Derby just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I think it's on for too long. Like the Super Bowl, the 6, 7, 8 hour show for the Super Bowl, and this all day long Derby televising all those other races that nobody gives a fuck about. But apparently people do give a fuck, because the bottom line is everybody watches the race at around 7 o'clock on the first Saturday of May. We all know what happens. So at 6:30, people turn it on and they watch it, and the ratings go through the fucking roof. Connor Griffin in 9 games since turning 20 on the 24th of April. This is the Pirates' young phenom. He's hit .412 with 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases. That's crazy. And by the way, as far as the Cubs, they got the sweep yesterday. They've won, I said, 5 straight. They've won 15 of their last 18 games overall. And then Nick Gonzalez of the Pirates in his last 15 games, .411 average, 23 hits, leads baseball, 7 RBIs, and a .468 on-base percentage. The Giants finished a winless road trip 0-6 and get walked off again 2-10 by the Rays, and we cashed that ticket. Boom. A viral outbreak aboard a cruise ship has left 3 people dead, with 5 additional suspected cases now under investigation. Officials have confirmed it's the Hanta. Nothing worse than the Hanta. By the way, the Yankees have won 13 of their last 15 games. The T-Wolves have upgraded Anthony Edwards with his left knee bone bruise to questionable ahead of Game 1 tonight against the Spurs. And how about the NL Central? The Cubs, 22-12, won 10 in a row, whatever. It's 5 in a row for them and 11 straight at home. Cardinals swept the Pirates. Then the Pirates swept the Reds. And then the Reds had won 5 in a row before they got swept by the Pirates. The Rays have won 9 of their last 10 games. They've allowed 3 or fewer runs in each of those games. And the Leafs are hiring John Shaka as their new GM, and Matt Sundin as their senior executive advisor of hockey operations. I think it's Shaka, like a shake hat. Ooh, shake hat, ooh, shake hat, ooh. Kimi Antonelli won in Miami the F1 race. That I don't care about. Cameron Forever Young gets his 3rd career PGA Tour victory and 2nd of the season. I already told you he won. All that matters, he won $3.6 million, right? Weed is harming teens' brain development. The largest U.S. study warns that smoking weed is bad for kids. Uh-oh, everybody's smoking reefer. And they're talking about it everywhere. Like, you smoke that funk. And the research was done at UC San Diego, analyzing 11,000 children from 9 to 17 across a range of skills, including memory, attention, language, and processing speed. Teens who use cannabis showed restricted growth during key years of brain development. Progress in memory, focus, and thinking speed leveled off as they got older and started using cannabis compared to their peers who didn't. And in smaller groups of participants, those exposed to THC had worsened memory. That just sounds awful. You got to get your kids off of that funk. The Bulls are zeroing in on T-Wolves GM Matt Lloyd as their new president of basketball ops. I saw that, and he's, it looks like, picked his coach. That story should be breaking. And the coach, it looks like Micah Nori would be their next coach of the Chicago Bulls. That sounds very exciting. And how about this? The botched blood alcohol content test that the cops did on the guy that killed Johnny Gaudreau. That case is crazy. A botched blood alcohol test, right? Prosecutors appear to have botched the blood alcohol test for the New Jersey man accused of mowing down Johnny Gaudreau and his brother in New Jersey. Sean Higgins wants the criminal charges against him tossed on the grounds there was a blood alcohol content test that was done wrong. They had him at 0.87 above the legal limit, and he was actually 0.75. His lawyer claims, and 0.75, you're not drunk. Legal experts say there's merit to his argument that the blood test is likely to be a major factor at his trial. Everybody wants this guy to go away, but if he wasn't drunk, how are you going to convict him? They did a test. He was below the legal limit. When adjusting for the false increased plasma yield, according to his lawyer at issue, they ran the blood test on his blood plasma, which showed him over the limit after the fatal crash. Higgins' team hired a toxicology expert who found his blood alcohol content was actually lower. This guy from this lawyer, and they specialize in DUI cases. They're supposed to test the whole blood because a plasma test can show BAC that is artificially higher. Another lawyer called the prosecution's use of blood plasma a head scratcher. So people want that guy to fry for killing those Goudreau brothers. We'll see if this lawyer's blood plasma test with a lower BAC works. The Hurricanes are the first team not to trail a single second in their first 5 games of the playoff run since the Capitals in '86. Jesus, that's everything. You get it all. Get the Profits Max Profit plays in the community. Get my elite plays and my profit plays in the community. I told you, a 12-3 weekend. Who loves you, baby? Uncle Futrelli and the Prophet love you. Shake out of shake out of. Let's start it up for another week and just keep making stacks, bitches. Shake out of.